Hello and welcome. As caregivers, we're always on the lookout for changes in our loved ones. And today, we're going to dive into one of the sneakiest ones out there, hearing loss. It's so much more than just sound. It's about staying connected, keeping the brain sharp, and really just enjoying life. So let me ask you this. Does this sound familiar? You walk into the room and the TV is just blasting. You can hear it from down the hall. Or you feel like you're saying the same thing 3, 4, 5 times. Yep, we've all been there. And those little things, they're not just annoyances. They're often the very first whispers that something's changing. You see, the tricky thing about hearing loss is that it's invisible. It doesn't show up like a bruise or a cough. Instead, it shows up in their behavior. That's why catching these early signs is so incredibly important for preventing bigger problems down the line. Now, there's a fancy medical term for what's usually going on. It's called presbyacusis. It's really just a slow, steady, and super common type of hearing loss that happens as we age. It's all about natural changes deep inside the ear. So it's not them being stubborn, it's a real physical change. And just how common are we talking? Well, the numbers are pretty staggering. About 1/3 of folks between 65 and 74 are dealing with this. And once you get over 75, that number jumps to almost half. So if this is happening in your house, believe me, you are far from alone. Okay, this is where the conversation gets really, really important. We used to think of hearing loss as just an ear problem, but we now know without a doubt that it is directly linked to brain health. And ignoring it, well, that can have some serious consequences. Think of it like this. The ears are just the microphones. They collect the sound. But it's the brain that's the sound engineer. It has to make sense of it all. So when those microphones start sending a fuzzy, distorted signal, the brain has to work way, way harder to figure out what's being said. And that constant effort, it's mentally exhausting. So why is this such a big risk for things like dementia? Well, scientists have 3 main ideas. First, cognitive load. The brain is so busy just trying to hear that it has less power left for things like memory. Second is brain atrophy. If the hearing parts of the brain aren't getting good signals, they can actually start to shrink. And third, and this is a huge one, social isolation. It just becomes easier to stay home than to struggle in a conversation, and that lack of connection is devastating for the brain. And get this, it's not just about their brain, it's about their body too. Your inner ear is basically your body's gyroscope. It controls your balance. Studies have shown that even a mild, untreated hearing loss can literally triple the risk of an accidental fall. That's a huge deal. But here is the really, really good news in all of this. Treatment, like hearing aids, is a total game changer. On one hand, without it, people tend to pull back from everything they love. But with treatment, they are so much more likely to stay active, engaged, and part of the action. It's a simple fix that gives them their life back. All right, so how do you spot this early? Let's run through a quick 10-point checklist. Just think about your loved one as we go through these and see if anything clicks. First on the list, the telephone. When you're on the phone, you can't see the person's lips or their expressions. All you have is sound. So if they start avoiding phone calls or really struggling to keep up, that's a major clue. Number 2, watch what happens in a group. A family dinner, a party. When there are multiple conversations happening, the brain has to work incredibly hard to filter everything. If you see them just kind of zone out or get quiet, this is often why. And here we are, back at number 3, our old friend, the TV volume. If it's at a level that feels uncomfortable to you, that's a really clear sign that they're not getting the full range of sound. Number 4 is all about watching their body language. Do they lean in really close? Are their eyes darting back and forth trying to read lips? Do they look absolutely wiped out after a short chat? That's not just them being tired, that's the look of intense mental effort. Number 5, pay attention in noisy places. A bustling restaurant can become a nightmare. For them, it's not just background noise. It's a wall of sound that makes it nearly impossible to pick out a single voice. Okay, number 6 is about listening to what they're actually telling you. If they mention ringing in their ears, that's called tinnitus, or talk about feeling dizzy or off balance, those symptoms very often go hand in hand with hearing loss. Number 7 is one of the most classic signs of all. Has what, or huh, or could you say that again, become a regular part of your conversations? If so, it's time to take that seriously. Now, number 8 is a fascinating one. They might start complaining that everyone else is mumbling. From their point of view, it's true. Their brain is getting a garbled message, and that's how it makes sense of it, by blaming the speaker. Has this ever happened? You ask them about dinner and they start talking about the weather? It can be frustrating, but try to remember they're not trying to be difficult. They likely misheard just one key word and are doing their best to respond to what they thought they heard. And finally, number 10. This one is really specific. Do they seem to have more trouble hearing you than, say, a man with a deep voice? That's because age-related hearing loss often hits the high-frequency sounds first, which is right where the voices of women and children tend to fall. And beyond those 10, just watch for big personality shifts. Is someone who was once the life of the party now quiet and withdrawn? And this is so important. Sometimes the symptoms, the confusion, the off-topic answers can be mistaken for dementia. Getting their hearing checked is an absolutely critical step. So, after all that, what do? The most crucial thing is to shift your perspective. This isn't about pointing out a flaw. This is about finding a solution. It's about opening a door back up to connection, to conversation, and to joy. You know, addressing hearing loss isn't the end of something. It really is the beginning of a clearer, more connected, and honestly, a more joyful chapter for everyone involved. Gently suggesting a hearing test isn't nagging. It's a profound act of love and support. So if any of this rang a bell for you, just think about this question. What's the one small first step you can take today? Maybe it's not about booking an appointment. Maybe it's just about starting a gentle conversation. And that conversation could be the most important one you have all week. Thanks so much for joining me.